Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into the very last chapter of Isaiah, chapter 66. It's quite something. It pulls together so many threads from the whole book: judgment, worship, restoration, a new creation. It's all packed in here.
It really is a powerful conclusion, and it doesn't ease you in gently, does it?
No, not at all. It starts right off with this cosmic statement. Heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool.
Exactly, just boom. An image of absolute vastness, God completely transcending anything physical we can imagine.
Right. And then immediately he asks, where is the house you will build for me? Where will my resting place be?
Which is such a pointed question after saying the universe is basically his furniture. It sort of challenges the whole idea of building God a physical house.
Yeah, it sets up this tension, doesn't it, between a temple, a building, and, well, something else.
And verse 2 tells us exactly what that something else is. After saying, I made all this, he says, this is the one I esteem. He who is humble and contrite in spirit and trembles at my word. Ah, okay. So the focus shifts instantly from the external, the grand structure, to the internal, the heart condition.
Precisely. Humility, contrition, that sense of being broken over sin, and this idea of trembling at his word.
What does that trembling really mean here? It's not just being scared, is it?
No, I don't think so. It's more like profound respect, deep awe, taking God's word incredibly seriously, letting it shape you, recognizing its authority.
Okay, so that reverence, that internal state, is what God values above all else.
That seems to be the clear message, and it sets up the next section, verses 3 to 5, which gets pretty harsh.
Right, because if the heart isn't right, what happens to those religious acts? And the comparisons here are shocking.
They really are. Sacrificing a bull, a key act of worship, is compared to killing a person, offering a lamb, like breaking a dog's neck. It's brutal imagery.
It shows just how rejected these acts are when they're done hypocritically. Your grain offering is like pig's blood, your incense like idol worship. It's worse than useless. It's offensive. And the reason given is crucial. They have chosen their own ways, and their souls delight in their abominations. It's willful. They prefer what God hates.
It's not just a mistake. It's a deliberate choice of rebellion.
Exactly. And so God's response mirrors their choice. I also will choose harsh treatment for them and will bring upon them what they dread.
Because they didn't listen when he called, didn't pay attention when he spoke, they just did evil and chose what displeased him.
It's that direct consequence again. You ignore God's call, you face the music, so to speak.
But then there's a little pivot, isn't there? Still in this section, verses 4 and 5, addressing the people who do tremble at his word.
Yes, it acknowledges their struggle. It talks about your brothers who hate you and exclude you because of my name. So persecution is coming from within their own community.
From the people who should be supporting them. And they're being mocked, too.
Right, with that sarcastic line, let the Lord be glorified, that we may see your joy. Using God's name to taunt the faithful. It's incredibly cruel.
That must have been deeply painful. But God gives them a promise.
He does. A clear promise. Those persecutors will be put to shame. Vindication is coming for the faithful.
And then bang, verse 6 hits you with this sound. Hear that uproar from the city. Hear that noise from the temple.
Yeah, it's auditory, it's dramatic. Chaos erupting in the very centers of civic and religious life.
And what is it?
The text tells us plainly, it is the sound of the Lord repaying his enemies all they deserve. It's the arrival of that judgment we just talked about. The consequences for rebellion and persecution are actually happening.
Okay, so judgment is sounding from the city and temple. But then the chapter just flips entirely. Verses 7 to 9.
It's a radical shift. Suddenly we have this imagery of birth, but it's completely unnatural. Before she goes into labor, she gives birth. Painless, instant delivery.
Which is impossible, right? And the text emphasizes that. Who has ever heard of such a thing? Who has ever seen such things? It's meant to sound miraculous.
Absolutely. And this impossible birth is the analogy for Zion, for God's people. Can a country be born in a day or a nation be brought forth in a moment?
Naturally, no way. Nation building takes time, often struggle.
But here, yet no sooner is Zion in labor than she gives birth to her children. It's portraying a sudden, divinely powered restoration, a nation reborn supernaturally, instantly.
Wow. That's an incredible picture of hope after all the judgment.
And God himself underlines the certainty of it. Those rhetorical questions in verse 9, do I bring to the moment of birth and not give delivery? Basically, do you think I'd start this and not finish it?
Right. If I start the process, I will complete it. It's a guarantee.
A powerful assurance of completion, which then leads into this beautiful section of comfort and abundance in verses 10 to 14.
Yeah, the tone shifts again to pure joy and peace. Rejoice with Jerusalem, all you who mourn over her. The mourning is definitively over.
And the imagery is so nurturing. Nursing, being satisfied, drinking deeply from abundance, like a mother comforting and feeding her child. It speaks of total security and fulfillment.
Peace like a river, wealth like a flooding stream, powerful, unstoppable images.
Just overwhelming peace and provision. And it gets even more intimate, being carried, dandled on the knees, like a beloved baby.
And God says directly, as a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. That's incredibly personal.
It is. Divine comfort expressed in the most tender human terms. And seeing this restoration brings joy and flourishing, like grass, suggesting vitality, new life.
But even here, that contrast remains at the end of verse 14. God's hand is known to his servants.
But his fury to his foes, the same divine action brings comfort or wrath, depending on your relationship with him.
Which snaps us back to judgment again in verses 15 to 17, but it feels bigger now.
Yes, the scope seems universal. See, the Lord is coming with fire, and his chariots are like a whirlwind. It's a terrifying theophany, a manifestation of God in judgment.
Fury, flames, judging all men with fire and sword. Many will be those slain by the Lord. It's intense.
And verse 17 zeroes in on a specific group again. Those involved in these forbidden garden rituals, eating unclean things like pigs and rats, following some leader figure in the midst.
Right, specific pagan or syncretistic practices. They're marked out by these abominations.
And their end is clear. They will meet their end together. Shared rebellion leads to shared judgment.
Okay, so global judgment. But then, another massive shift in verse 18.
Right. Just when you think it's all about judgment, God says he's coming to gather all nations and tongues, a universal gathering.
And why gather them?
And they will come and see my glory. It's for a universal revelation of who God is. Not just judgment, but his glory on display for everyone.
And it doesn't stop there. He sends survivors out from this gathering.
Yeah, survivors are sent to the farthest places: Tarshish, North Africa, Lydia, Tubal, Greece, distant islands, places that hadn't heard about God or seen his glory.
And their mission.
They will proclaim my glory among the nations. So the glory seen at the center radiates outwards to the whole world.
And then those nations respond by bringing people back to Jerusalem.
Exactly. They bring all your brothers from all the nations as an offering to the Lord, using all sorts of transport: horses, chariots, camels. It's huge ingathering.
And they're brought like holy offerings in ceremonially clean vessels, signifying acceptance, holiness.
It's an incredible picture of the nations participating in worship, being brought to God as something precious and acceptable.
And then verse 21 drops that bombshell.
Ah, yes. And I will select some of them also to be priests and Levites. Some of these non-Israelites from all nations.
It's huge. Breaking down the previous restrictions on who could serve in those sacred roles. Radical inclusivity.
Absolutely revolutionary for its time. It points to a future where access to serving God is opened up dramatically.
And this all leads into verses 22 and 23, the ultimate vision.
Yes, the promise of an enduring people is tied to the permanence of the new heavens and the new earth that I make. A complete cosmic renewal.
A whole new reality.
Yeah.
And in that new reality,
Constant universal worship. From one new moon to another and from one Sabbath to another, all mankind will come and bow down before me. Regular cycles, everyone included.
all mankind, just
Oh.
everyone bowing down before God. It's an amazing climax.
It really is. But the chapter doesn't quite end there, does it? Verse 24.
No, it takes one last, very stark turn. After the universal worship, there's this image of going out and seeing the dead bodies of those who rebelled against me.
It's a jarring contrast. Worship inside and the scene outside.
And the description is haunting. Their worm will not die, nor will their fire be quenched. It speaks of unending consequences, unending decay or torment for persistent rebels.
It's a final graphic depiction of the fate of those who ultimately reject God. A permanent state.
And the reaction, they will be loathsome to all mankind. A final, sobering endnote.
So yeah, this one chapter, it covers just about everything. God's immensity, the heart of worship, judgment, miraculous restoration, global mission, radical inclusion, a new creation, and that final, difficult image of eternal consequences.
It's an intense ride through judgment and hope, condemnation and comfort. exclusion, and incredible inclusion. The shifts are just breathtaking.
What really lingers is that opening focus, isn't it? That God looks past the grandest human efforts to the humble, contrite heart that trembles at his word. That seems to be the key that unlocks everything else.
Definitely. That and the sheer scale of the vision, from personal piety all the way to new heavens and a new earth, with all nations involved.
So, as you think about Isaiah 66, maybe consider this. Amidst all the grand visions of future glory and judgment, what does that initial call for a humble and contrite spirit, one that truly reveres God's word, mean for us right now? How does that shape everything else? Something to reflect on.